All right, so now we're going to work on practice 2, number 5. And now we see that there are 3 branches, and previously we've been working with something that had 2 branches. So let's go ahead and read for what's given to us. We know that there's a 10-volt battery and there's 3 resistors, and each resistor is in its own branch. So looking at this picture, we can call this resistor 1, resistor 2. I don't know why it keeps moving, but so here's resistor 2, and this will be resistor 3. This ammeter will tell us the current for branch 1, branch 2, and branch 3. And this ammeter will tell us the total branch. And so we know from the problem that there is a battery with 10 volts. And each resistor has been given, the resistance value has been given. So then we know also that the drop is going to be exactly 10. And so the drop through branch, so it doesn't drop through here because this is an ammeter, but so it stays 10, and then we go to 0, 0, and then it goes back to 0 to the negative terminal. Now for branch 2, same thing. This is not a resistor or a light bulb, so there's no drop. Here's a light bulb, so there's a drop, and it stays at 0. No drop, drop, and then, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill this out. We have 10 volts, and it's 10 volts all the way down. All right, now we can figure out what the total, not total current, but we can figure out what each of the current is for each of the resistances, or for each of the branches. So for branch 1, we're going to figure it out for branch 1. We'll use V is equal to IR, so we have 10 volts. Ten volts is equal to some number that we don't know yet times 20 ohms. So when we divide by 20 ohms, we are going to get that the branch 1 current is going to be 0.5 amps. So this will be 0.5 amps. All right, so next for branch 2, we are going to use same rule. So 10 volts is equal to some number we don't know yet times 3 ohms. We divide by 3 ohms on both sides, and we get that the branch 2 is equal to 3.3 repeating amps. And then for branch 3, so we have V3 is equal to I3 times R3. So we have 10 volts is equal to the current for 3 times 15 ohms. And so we're going to divide that by 15 ohms. And we get that the current for branch 3 is going to be 0.6 repeating. So this 0.6 repeating. And the way I added up the total, right? So I have the total current is equal to the current for 1, the current for 2, and the current for 3. So the current is going to be, I'm going to change my numbers from decimals to fractions so you can see what my math looks like. So we have half an amp plus 3 1/3 amp plus 2/3 amps. So we have 1/2 plus 10/3 plus 2/3 amps, and that's going to give us a 1/2 plus 12 divided by 3, which is going to be 1/2 plus 4, which is 4.5 amps. All right, and so then last part is we're going to do some math of our total resistance. So we have total resistance using Ohm's law, and we have 10 volts is equal to 4.5 amps times the resistance. So when we divide by 4.5 amps on both sides, we get that the total resistance is equal to 2.2 repeating ohms. So this is 2.2 repeating ohms. And now we can fill out our diagram here. So we know our total is 4.5 amps. And this is 0.5. This is 3.3 repeating. And the third one is going to be 0.6 repeating. All right, now to draw our schematic. So we have, I'm going to make my lines a little bit thicker. We have our battery, and then we have our ammeter, and then we have an ammeter here. We have a light bulb, light bulb, light bulb, an ammeter, an ammeter, an ammeter, and they all join to the end. All right, and so we've got A, B, C, and then D will just be at the bottom here, and E can be on its way back. All right, so now we have a C prime, of course, and a D prime. Now that we have a third branch, we're going to go ahead and call that C double prime and D double prime. And let's go ahead and fill in our information here. This is 4.5, 4.5, 0.5, 3.3 repeating, and 0.6 repeating. 0.5, 3.5, or 3.3, sorry, repeating, and 0.6 repeating. Okay, so then now, when we draw our graph, we're going to label it A, B, C, D, E, and A. And our y-axis is going to be 5 and 10. So then we start at 0, and then we go up to 10 for B. And then at point C, it's still at 10. Then at D, it goes to 0. E and A is all at 0. So when we draw our lines, and then C prime will just be right next to it. And I'll just go ahead and draw it as a dotted line. And then it doesn't go past that. And D prime, or C prime, double prime, will just be another, but different color. All right, and that is the end of practice 2.